my inky friends. It's Cindy Lynn with My Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel and blog for this fun card. Now, today I'm going to show you some really unique ways to use your dies, primarily how to emboss with Stampin' Up Dies. So I pulled out my trusty little sidekick. This guy, he's going away. I mean, in a few days, I'm going to be getting my new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to keep him. I love him. I'm going to put him away because he's a trusty little workhorse. But let me tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to use the platform that came with this trusty guy, and then I'm going to use a cutting plate and then a silicone Stampin' Up mat. And this here I used some thick Whisper White cardstock here. I wanted something a little thicker, something that's going to hold up pretty good. Now I am going to use a die from the Home Together dies. This set will be available August 4th. And I'm going to tape it in place. Now, here's the trick, okay? Be very careful when you pull that off, because once you've embossed or smooshed your purple tape through there, it can get real sticky. But just like a little puzzle, if you move that die around, you're going to feel when it grabs on that bottom impression that you just dyed the previous time. So I'm going to speed it up while I roll it through. I'm going to show you that again. So I'm going to carefully just kind of peel that up, because although it's a very low tack tape, once you run it through this machine, it really wants to stick. So again, I'm just lining it up there. And as you can see on the left side, I like to keep my die close to the edge of my paper, just so I kind of have a really good idea where I'm trying to match this curve every single time I go. So what you're going to notice, see that line there? It always leaves a really dark line. So every time you run it through your machine, it flattens that line out. So when you're all done, flatten that line out again. So you're going to repeat this for however many actual little rainbows that you want. I used 2, 4, 6, 7, and I made sure I had a little bit of white at the bottom. Now, while we've got our machine out, I'm going to pull out the clouds from the Happy dies. This is a current set. I will link it below. All the supplies that I can link will be linked in the YouTube description and on my blog. Anything that I can't link because it's not available till August 4th, I'll come back and link it after August 4th for you. So now I'm going to use the Happy out of the same set, the Happy dies, and I'm going to use this gorgeous rainbow glimmer paper. And now what I want to do is I want to kind of trim this up a bit because I want to alter my die. So I'm going to come in real close so you can see that's a little bit more than a 1/4 inch there on the bottom. Just eyeball it. You do it however thick you want it. But here's where you want to line it all up and trim the top off, because I want the Happy to look like it's popping out of the grass, right? So I'm going to use my little snips and I'm just going to round up the little corners on the P. Now, here's where I'm going to color. Now, you got to stick with me here because it looks super messy to start, and I'm going to tell you why. I had to take my headache medication on the day that I filmed this, and it kind of makes me shaky. I had a super emotional day. I'll tell you guys about it, but I was really shaky, and whenever I take those pills, it's like, I just kind of I'm not in my head right? So do you ever have to take medication like that? I absolutely hate it. But I am going to use my Stampin' Blends, and I will list all the color combinations I used on my blog, and there's a link to my blog down below. So the red, it's looking real messy, but stick with me. This is going to come together, okay? Because I'm going to use a Stampin' Right marker. After I color the next level above, I'll go back and I'll match up the last rainbow with a Stampin' Right marker, and I'll just kind of line that little impression in between the two colors, and it's like magic. It cleans it right up. I love it. I love it. So this card is for my dad, bless his heart. He just moved into a kind of like one of those lockdown senior facilities. It's assisted living. He's got his own little bachelor suite, and they help remind him when to get up and take meds, and help him get to the kitchen dining area to eat, stuff like that. He has stage 4 Alzheimer's. So it's been really difficult. He was living with us, and then he went to there, and he's just like a little lost soul, and with the COVID I can't go see him. So this card is just kind of a card to brighten up his day. And I have a Facebook group, and it was really difficult for me, but I did I did suck it up for my dad, and I asked on my Facebook group if anybody would like to send him a card. And I am just I'm blown away, you guys. I'm over the moon. I'm so, there's just no words. Can you see? I just have no words. But, you know, I'm going to just give a quick shout out here to Kylie, Vicky, Lisa, Judy, Heather, Samantha, Kathy, Sheila, Kareen, Sandy, Kimberly, Mary, Cheryl, Stacy, Darlene, Brenda, Sharon, Chelsea, Joan, Shirley, Lisa, Pam R, Pamela G, Susan, Linda, Antonio, Donna, Carol, Natasha, Doris. I mean, the list goes on. I hope I've got everybody's name up into this point of filming, but you guys have just moved me in a way that's unbelievable. Everybody is coming together to just do what we do best and send my dad a little sunshine. Anyhow, you probably noticed there, I trimmed off the top above the blue, and I just kind of did a little bit of marker there just to kind of go in theme with the lines. But I've got the rainbow, and I think it's looking awesome. Now, we're going to actually use this die, and we're going to be unique again, and we're going to kind of fussy cut this up a little, trim it up a little, and create some extra clouds so that they can go over top of our rainbow. So we've got all our pieces together, and here, you know, there's no rhyme or reason. Start big, like make your cloud a little big to start, and then if you need it a little smaller, you can always make it a little smaller, but it's kind of hard to make it bigger after you've cut it too small. So the bottom of the cloud is just going to be relatively flat, and then just like right there, curve those scissors up, and you know, if it looks too pointy like an egg, like an oval, just kind of keep trimming it. And I fussy cut these and played with them a little bit, you know, yada, yada, yada. So there we have it. I've got just kind of, you know, a little bit of extra something, something. Now, what I find with clouds, and here's my tip, let's take this to the next level. Use a dauber with a minute, very, very little bit of smoky slate, and just gently rub that dauber around the edges of your cloud, because it makes them stop. They don't disappear. I mean, it gives them dimension, right? So make sure you do that. And then with the balmy blue, again, a minute amount just to soften up that cardstock and give it a little bit of a sky texture. Now we're going to go to town and we're going to splatter this up. This is the same splatter I showed in my top 10 video, except I added some Pearl X powder to it, okay? And this one actually heat protectant spray as well. All of that is linked in that video. So for coloring this adorable little zebra, all I did was pull out my Stampin' Right markers that I pretty much already used in the rainbow. I'll make sure I list them for you. And I started coloring, and then I was like, wait a second, this is like a white zebra, but we don't want them all white. So all I did was go in with the light gray granite, and then I used the color lifter to just kind of, it's not a color lifter, it's a color blender, and it pushes the color into the cardstock, okay? So when you rub over the gray, it just pushes that gray in, and it just kind of gives him more of a little bit more texture and dimension, right? So now I'm looking and I'm like, okay, his nose and his hooves and his ear kind of needed to be a little darker. So I went in with a little darker shade there of the gray. Now I'm just going to do his tail and, you know, his stripes on his legs. Now here's what's going to make it pop. Those gel pens that I love, this one's a clear. So I'm going to line him all the way around his body, and I'm going to color in all of his hooves and his nose and his eye, because when it dries clear and it's shiny, right? So let's keep this card sparkling and fun and add some Wink of Stella just to where we added all that color. And then if you find that you need a little bit more dark, go in with your black Stampin' Right marker. Now I ended up using the Rococo Rose on the ear. I didn't like the first one, and then I blended it in a little bit more with the Zero, the color lifter. So now some butterflies. You could cut these out of regular cardstock, but I wanted them to match the rainbow because we had used Stampin' Blends. So I'm going to pull out 3 little butterflies from the Butterfly Beauty die set, Butterfly Beauty dies, and then I'm going to trace them in the color I'm going to blend them in. You won't see the tracing, it'll all come out when you die cut them, but here you're just going to go in with those same markers you already have out. Just add a little dimension and colors, just a little something, something. And I cut it out of the video, but what I did after is I took the Stampin' Right markers and I just put little dots on them, you know, in the Granny Apple Green, the Real Red, and the Highland Heather. So it just added just a little bit more pop. And if you looked really close at the card, you'd see the dots. I don't think my dad's going to inspect it that much, but it made me feel better to do it. So I've got my stitched rectangle die. And I just want to lay out the cloud and the rainbow strip there just so that I can kind of, you know, get it kind of where I want it. Now, I want to stay in theme with that stitching around the rainbow and the clouds. So I'm going to lay that die right over top of the happy that we already cut out, tape that little bad boy in there, and then run that through the machine too. So now I've got matching stitching, and we're going to do that for the cloud too, and I'll show you that here in a few minutes. But I'm going to glue my happy. Now just a little bit of liquid glue all on the letters and then on the ends, and that's my Derice bottle. I transferred my multi-purpose liquid glue. Everybody's asking about it, and I do link it down below for all of you girls and guys that are like me and want it in a nice little precision fine tip bottle. So I'm going to lay all of these out. Now I know that I want to add dimensionals to my clouds and pop that up. So I'm just kind of getting an eyeball where I've got to glue that rainbow. And you're going to see me bring in the clouds again because I want everything. That's just me. I mean, I don't measure. I just eyeball everything. And, you know, it's just so technical, right? Eyeballing it. Do you guys eyeball things, or do you prefer to have like very rigid instructions? It's got to be cut here and cut there. I can't live with rigidity. I'm a free spirit. I just got to wing it. So we are winging this and eyeballing it. Now that I got it pretty much where I want it. And that's the beauty about the liquid glue, right? If you got that wiggle room so you can get it exactly where you want it. So I did fussy cut out the zebra because I wanted to kind of get everything laid out, and there's that technical tool. I'm going to mark those clouds so that I can line up the edge. Now you don't have to use the big one. You can use a smaller one, but it's already out. So I figured, I'll just use this and I don't have to go fishing for another die. And then run that through your machine, and now you've got the stitched edging on your clouds. This is just taking this card to the next level. These are the little things that when someone looks at your card, I mean, the little things that they go, how'd they do that? Do they do that with a sewing machine? Or, you know, they just look at your card and go, wow, this is like amazing, right? So now this little guy, this set, I bought this whole set specifically for him. Oh wait, I gotta tell you. So the foam strips, if you peel the backing, all the release paper, you can curve it really nicely around those clouds, right? But yeah, this stamp set, I bought this whole stamp set just for this little guy because as soon as I saw it in the catalog on our pre-order, I was like, rainbow, 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 rainbow. Now, the way you position him is going to totally make or break your card. I have done, this is the second one. The first one I did, I positioned them differently and it wasn't working. So I've got my little rhinestones on there, the whale of a time. And now this crystal effects, this shimmery one, just put little blobs here and there. And you know what? It just adds that perfect something, something. Now, this sentiment, I had to have this exact sentiment because I'm trying to brighten my dad's day. And this sentiment came out of the June 2020 paper pumpkin. I do have a video on how I store my paper pumpkin. That's just a dollar store photo album, 4x6, and I just slip them in the pockets and label them. But you know, a little something to brighten your day. So I'm going to get that sticky, you know, that Play-Doh kind of looking stuff. You stick it on the wall and you stick posters. I'm going to get those. I'm going to put all these cards up. I'm going to take a video of all the cards you wonderful people send my dad. I can't wait. I hope you enjoyed this video today. And until I see you again, take care and happy stamping.